can see it when you see me, but you have to believe it.
Oh, sucky now. Hell yeah. I know my dogs are watching, and if you ain't, I know you will be. And if you are watching and you ain't my dog yet, you will be. Welcome back to the Get Busy Living podcast, y'all. My name is Sweet, and I'm going to help you get busy living. Look, every single month for the next 49 months, we are Get Busy Living. That's one epic adventure every single month. And this is your source for what we did, what we're about to do, and what we're doing in the meantime to enable ourselves to do that. And today we're going to talk about the difference between busyness and business, the difference between getting busy and being busy. You know what I mean? But before we get into that, remember, nothing is worth having if it ain't worth sharing. So allow me to introduce myself and introduce my co-host, the entrepreneur in Los Angeles, the co-author, the author of Unblock Yourself, the dazzling D-Rex. Put your hands together.
Oh my
I
goodness.
did it all for you this time, girl. I did it all for you.
All right. Well, I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to see some people already here.
Hell yeah.
Always happy to get busy living with you here on Thursday nights, and if you're here in the audience, please say hello in the comment section because we want to include you as always. It's always a fun time including everyone. So how are you?
I couldn't be better. Some days you just ain't got it. And some days you can't smell bad. And today it's just like one of them days where it's like, I don't know, man. All of the conversations that I've been having have been trying to take me down. And challenges are, man, in this life, in this chair and all that jazz. I don't try to complain, but man, they're always there. But today
Mhm.
somehow I just been able to like dodge and not have my swag stolen, not have my sunshine blocked out, and I'm pretty good at not letting my sunshine get stolen. But today, man, it's been better. Like it started off, with a lot of talk about, you know, what life is. Life is just dying eventually.
Mhm.
And got a lot of friends out there who are having some troubles with losing loved ones recently and facing that. So those of you that are dealing with that, I know you're a part of the audience, and just want to say, my heart goes out to you. Celebrate. Be the strongest one at the funeral. That's what Biz said today. Wise words from a wise man. He's like, I'm just gonna try to be the strongest one at the funeral. Not the funeral's not today, but and remind everybody, man, that it's an opportunity. You know, it's an opportunity to remember how valuable this life is when you have to deal with losing somebody from it. You
Mhm.
know, and when you have people that come together to mourn the death, be the one to remind them to celebrate the life and be thankful for the opportunity to come together. Because a lot of times you don't see those people unless somebody, passes. And
Yeah.
and uh, and this is
True.
like sweet. He's like it's my goal. He's like it's my goal to make it known that I want this to be what brought us together. Let's what better way, than to have your family be able to say that your passing brought them together, and after that, they were even tighter than they were before you were there. What better way
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
honor your loved one's life than to let their death be what brought you guys together? You know what I
Well,
mean?
that is true. And it's never easy to lose loved ones, but it is a really good time to reflect on things. And like I lost my mom 2 years ago, right in the beginning of the pandemic. So I was lucky I could even be there, but it changed my life in so many ways. And I'm not sure if I would have had that amount of self reflection without it. I'm not saying it's a good thing she's gone. It's not. But it's a good thing for all the things that I learned.
Absolutely. And that's the hardest thing. What up, Boog? Somebody that knows about death. Jay Bailey is Boog. I wish you would put Boogie in. So funny. you know, it's hard to talk about the facts of life because there's no getting around them. You cannot get out of what's happening around you. Like there's a lot of shit happening right now that I'm really extremely worried about. But I'm not going to sit around worrying all day, you know, and death looms for all of us. And there's no avoiding that. Either we're going to die before everyone else and they're going to be sad for us, or the other way around. You know, honestly, I haven't decided which side of the coin I want to be on. You know?
Yeah, I've thought about that. I can't. There's no good choice.
There isn't, you know, because the people that you love the most, you genuinely, truly, deeply do not want them to feel sorrow. And so it's like, you know that they're going to be sad if you die. So you don't want them to go through that shit, you know? So then what? You wish they die first? Kind of fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. You die together? Like what? There's
yeah, it's just kind of it's a losing game there.
Yeah, it's like you can't, there's no winning. So just deal with it and deal with it the best you can by finding the silver lining. The silver lining is that it brought us all together. And the best way to flip it, you know, best way to slap the devil in the face with his own fire is to make everybody who has to deal with it and grieve over it stronger from it. And how do you make everybody that has to grieve over it stronger from it? You know, what's the saying? The cliche is, you know, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Have each individual one person that shows up, have it be so much greater than the number of people that shows up, because it brought everybody together. And from that point on, you stay together. Not that you don't leave the wake, but that you talk more often, you know, and you don't miss each other as much because you see each other more. And look, I hope that those of you that I spoke to today and that I will speak to soon that have to deal with death in your life, I hope that you find the silver lining, because there's no good way to view it. There's no good outcome. We all die, you know? So find that.
You know, I thought that you would be too busy for all of these big thoughts today. It's just that you've had so much going on, and you're still in school, still working toward the end of the year here, and you said this was an especially hard semester. So let's talk about how busy you are, and update us. What's going on? It's almost your birthday month.
It is almost my birthday month, but you know, every month is. That damn loop button.
I know, I always turn it off. So is it still veganuary? What's going on?
No, because Jerry bought barbecue today and it smelled too good and I had it. Okay. But I have been far more dedicated and disciplined, and the results that I'm going to get with this particular blood test, which I'm meeting with my PCP tomorrow, and that's when supposedly we're going to get it scheduled. She has to justify that kind of stuff, you know? And so, but I've been pulling it out for the first 3.5 weeks. I was excellent. Then I did have a couple wings. I think maybe it was wings. I don't know, but I've been really good. And then today I had some ribs, and I feel great about it. I feel better in general, just like psychologically. When you know that you're making little sacrifices for your own good, how do we write that book about how good you feel when you know that you're making sacrifices for your own good? As long as they're not major sacrifices. Like, look, I've been studying one of my diversity classes, since you asked about school, is bringing me to the story of yogi and the yogi tradition. And I'm reading about the way that it was practiced before there was anybody writing the rules down, and they were just doing it because it felt good, and they were getting status from it. They weren't getting credit for it. They were doing it because it felt good, and they were like, "Man, this shit feels so good. You should try it. Stretch with me." And that's the beauty of yoga compared to all the other traditions, which I look at yoga, even though the yogis that are proud of it would say it's a religion, and the religions that are proud of their religions wouldn't, because they don't want to say, well, they want to be able to include the yoga beliefs in their religious system without having to credit it for it or feel like they're copying their style. But the truth is, a lot of religions today have all kinds of yogic principles in them. But in reading about it, it's like they believe that, so religion is born out of humans, the only aware organism on the planet that we are aware of, that can truly have collective memory, meaning that if every human today died, then another human showed up, he would know everything everybody else has known because of all of the scripture, right? All of the writing. Well, for a long time, humans weren't literate enough to write. And how do we teach? How do we remember? Right? So a lot of our religions are stories that we were told. We remember because it was a funny story or a good story, right? So at that stage, they were trying to explain, how do we get here and where did it all come from? They were believing that this was there was no heaven and hell, which a lot of persecuting style of religions, I feel bad for saying that, but I mean, that's what it is. The God-fearing religions want you to say, if you don't listen to God, you're going to go to hell. Well, there's a lot of belief systems out there that don't believe that you can do a bad job. They believe that the fact that you're here, the fact that you made it to humanhood, you're a winner. And this is an opportunity to transcend to a better place, or a desirable outcome of this would be for it to be, better than this. And so do a good job here and you transcend to something better. And when I was talking to my man today about, what he's dealing with losing multiple family members, imagine that. He was like, man, sweet. He was like, I really feel like the one took the other. I really feel like, because they both have dealt with, having to die at points in their lives. And he believes that both of them have been dead already and come back, chose to. And when one went, not so much by choice, but because it was inevitable. So the choice is pull the plug or not. So yeah. And he feels like the fact that one chose that when they chose that, it was a deal. It was a deal. Like the powers that be were like, because it's a reward to transcend. Like Earth is only as good as Earth can be. When we're done here, it gets better. Right? So the one that had the balls to let go of this and decide to go to the better place. They were like, they had insight. They were like, look, we're taking you, stop fighting, and they were like, okay, I'll stop fighting, because faced with the decision by the doctor, do you want to go or do you want to stay? 99.9 million of us were like, no, doc, keep me plugged in, man. This brave soul was comfortable in what they had done in their life and was like, okay, you can have me, but only if I get to bring my son. And knowing, knowing that they're coming, the reward was you get to bring your son too. You get to end the suffering. Like, you made the wise decision. You sacrificed. You're ready to let go of that, which most of us aren't. And since you were ready, who else do you want to bring? And knowing that he, had also in his life faced death, like this person was legitimately dead at one point from some drama in Erie. She brought him. How beautiful is that, to think of it that way? That getting from here to there actually is a step up. It's like winning the lottery, only way better, right? And so that person that
I
had,
believe that.
the person that had the bravery to let go of this was rewarded with bringing somebody with them.
And who really knows the answers, but sometimes you just feel the answers, and you just have to go with what you feel when there's nothing written in stone, because oftentimes our gut can tell us the answer. But I hope you don't mind me backing up to your point about yoga for a second, because I feel like we took off in a direction that we didn't mean to today, but that's just where today led us. We were just following the instincts of today. So before you were injured, were you ever practicing yoga?
Absolutely. Not devout, just like a lot of Christians don't devoutly practice the beliefs, but I wasn't practicing it because I knew that it was a religion. I was a person that had been shown it as an option for healing, and it worked. It worked really good. So I spent the majority of my 20s in a car driving from one client to the next as a salesperson. I've done consulting and selling, and I've been driving a lot, and had a lower back problem that impaired me. I remember going into my early 30s. There was times I was trying to walk from my car to the restaurant, and I couldn't even carry a briefcase. And I got steroid shots, and I got chiropractic adjustments, and I'd done all kinds of different things, and never really had to get fixed. And then a friend of mine showed me, talked me into yoga. And I woke up one morning with her, and it was an issue. And she's like, really should try this, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I know the power of stretching. I knew that. So I was like, okay. And after one session, I was relieved. And so I did it again, the next day. And then I did it again, probably twice within the next week. And then probably after that, twice a week for the next foreseeable year or so, with lots of breaks in between and no devout. But the point is that it felt like the first one fixed me. But the fact that I kept on going could have also aided in the healing. But the point is that since I left Bali, I haven't done yoga. And when I was living in Bali, I did it less often, even though that's a yoga capital of the world. When I was in Sydney is when I was doing it the most often, because I was going to the gym 2 or 3 times a week, and there was a yoga studio in there, and I would go in and do it. It was a part of my workout.
Well, I mean, the reason I'm asking you this is because did you ever see it as more than just like a physical stretch? Like, did you also do it for like the mind clearing effects of it?
Yes, I did, but not in the way that I just described it, as far as how it is as a tradition and a religion and a belief as an entry into the unity with God. I didn't see it like that. I didn't see it as a religion. I just saw it as a good move. What's up, Thriller? Kim Miller. So I got a friend from Erie that I've been calling Thriller for years and years and years. And I've met a lot of people that his last name was Miller that I didn't call Thriller. But so the original Thriller is still a very thrilling individual, very charismatic guy. Shout out John Miller. But Kim Miller is equally deserving of the nickname Thriller. Girls, she's off the chain.
Okay, so do you know why I'm bringing you down this road? The reason I want to know this, because I feel like yoga today is kind of one of these more forced periods of time where we get away from our screen and we actually get some time to stop thinking. And this kind of, ties into what we wanted to talk about today, is like just being so busy all the time. And when people call you, you answer the phone and you say, oh, I'm so busy. I got to go. I'm so busy, and it's like everything is always so busy. And everybody knows that it's not healthy. Everybody knows that. But it's so hard to stop when you're addicted to trying to get things done. But I was reading a little bit about boredom and how important that is for our brains and for our creativity. And there's just hardly any chance these days for us to become bored, because we wait in line, we're on our phone. We come home, we turn on the TV. We wake up, we've suddenly got like the news and the weather coming at us. It's just like you never stop. You never sit down in the park and do nothing. This doesn't happen anymore. Kim says, I'm bored, so I'm driving to Nashville.
Oh, look, that Tasha said, can't wait to see you. Oh, look at these girls. Look at the Get Busy Living girls.
So my question to you is, and it's going to seem like it's off topic, but it's not. When do you get your best and most creative thoughts?
Are you testing me because of what we talked about earlier in the rebrand?
No.
I get my most creative thoughts right after I dance with Mary Jane.
Oh, okay.
Without question. In fact, that's the point. It's the entire point of what I said when I told you that there is a school, not just a school, but there's a study in industry that believes that marijuana is the difference between aware and not aware hominids on Earth. That before there was lots of primates that were on this planet that were capable, or at least up to that point had evolved far enough to be able to further evolve into something similar to what human beings are. But there's one, obviously, which is the case with evolution, there's one that actually made it. And there, I was sitting with this, story time. Do we have a graphic for that? So
I don't think so. I think the closest thing you get is this. That's all you get.
It's not a fact, and it's not that fun.
Okay.
There was a doctor who lived in Santa Rosa, or in Blue Mountain Beach in Florida, which is in between where we stayed and where we went to at Bud and Alley's down that, remember 30A, that long, beautiful road? Along that road, this dude, there's bushes on both sides at one point, and he had a driveway that was covered in bushes. You wouldn't even have known there was a house there. It was that exclusive. And so I had a friend there that knew the guy. We pulled back there. This dude had a house built around a tree. And you parked under the house next to the tree and took stairs up into the house. And when we get up there, and as I'm walking up, I get up there and there's this woman who's at her island and she's got hors d'oeuvres and she greets me and hugs my date. And the girl brings me out onto the patio and there's this doctor out there and he's got a bunch of kids half his age. And he's sitting there Indian style. And Indian, by the way, guys, those of you that have heard this term, is not American Indian style. Sitting Indian style with the legs crossed, like the yogi tradition pose. And this dude's he's preaching and he's talking all this wise shit. The dude's in his 70s. He's got two doctorates. And he's talking about all this mind-blowing wisdom dropping. And he tells me that he has studied anthropology. And at that point, I had a humanities degree. And I'd also been studying what humans have been doing on Earth for years. And he was talking about the state of human beings when marijuana first props up in our history. And it's very hard to trace because it's so integral and so far back that there are beliefs that that's the difference. Almost as though there was a period of time, just much like forests catch fire all over the planet, right? And they burn down, they distribute the hydrocarbons into the soil, and then new stuff grows, right? Well, there's some belief out there that during a certain stage of evolution, it was common for marijuana to be a part of that cycle. And that's where humans first got attracted to smoke. Just like we eat foods and we spit out poison and we continue to eat the stuff that's good and we get a buzz from the sugars and we're programmed to consume. There's theories that, that when we caught that kind of buzz, that's when we became self-aware. And anyone that's done marijuana and not felt some sort of euphoric effect, they're different. And although there's a varying degree of euphoria and we all have different types of, responses to it, some of us like it, some of us don't. I remember when I first started with it, I didn't like it. And then it wasn't until I, was more interested in creativity that I started to understand why it was so cool for me. But like at that time, the person that I was, a partner with couldn't mess with them, gave them anxiety. She didn't like it. So it's not great for everyone, just like nothing is. Ibuprofen cures most headaches, but some it doesn't. There's nothing that works for everybody. But marijuana has typically been something that inspires people to be more creative, to be more narrow-minded. It broadens your horizon as far as what you're capable of imagining, but it narrows your focus to what you're thinking about. And that's when I'm my most creative.
And I think there's definitely aspects to that that are true. I'm not a smoker, and I'm not against it, not for it. I just don't do it. And I think that what part of that is helping you have your creative thoughts is it's a time to slow down for you. It's not like you participate in it and then you're like, now I'm going to get all my work done.
Like, check out Kim. Drugs are bad. Okay. And then check out Ann. What's up, girl?
We keep threatening to go see Ann, and then it never happens. Like, what's happening here?
We're gonna make
what's
that
happening?
Happen, we're gonna make that happen.
I know
real
it.
Soon.
I know.
And you need to threaten to see us.
So, okay, what I'm getting at here, and it's taken a long time to get here because look, we are halfway through this podcast, and I'm still not here. Is that it's a time for you to slow down. It's not for a time for you to get your to-do list done, right? And I would say that outside of that activity, a lot of people would say that, they get a lot of their best thoughts in the shower. And if you take a second to think about that activity, it's, there's calming sound, white noise. There's no screens. Now people are pumping music into their showers, and that they probably, that probably destroys the effect of this. But I mean, that's why they have that thing called shower thoughts. Well, who, what? This is a part of society I don't really know about. I don't even want to go here right now. So stop. Just stop. Okay, so, because when there's a term, shower thoughts, and it's these weird creative thoughts you have in the shower because you're slowed down. There's nothing going on. You're effectively bored, right?
Yes.
So, what I'm getting at is there's not enough boredom these days, and there is too much busyness. So I started reading into studies on boredom. And there was this interesting British psychological study where they determined that, I don't know if I'm going to paraphrase this right. Let's see how it comes out of my mouth hole here. They said that boredom causes you to focus on things that are more meaningful to you rather than the tasks at hand. So maybe, when you're bored, instead of saying, I'm going to do these things here that need to be done, you might instead turn here and draw or cook or sew or paint or play your sports that you love, And if you're busy all the time, you will not do that. You'll just keep filling your life with these activities that, yes, you will accomplish things. But then there's also another study that shows that accomplishments, like a task that you accomplish, the joy that you get from that is so fleeting. Like we might think that, you get someday 100,000 subscribers to this podcast, right? And that's going to feel awesome. That's going to feel amazing. We're going to be so happy. We're probably going to be really, really happy for about one day. Because that's how humans work. You know, we talked about this on another podcast, where accomplishing a task is a fleeting joy.
Mhm.
So we're running on this treadmill to accomplish all these tasks. We're running on this treadmill for fleeting joys instead of stopping and turning this direction and being focused on more creative endeavors that are going to fulfill us much more long term. That's where I'm
Yes.
getting. I got there.
I'm having so many ideas now. I feel like you just enlightened me as to why I have not been able to experience the creative joys that I'm accustomed to as a child. I used to be a really good artist,
Mhm.
and I was
Mhm.
bored.
Oh, I was
And
so bored as a child.
yeah, I mean, my friends had Nintendos, but if I wasn't allowed to go to their house, I didn't have shit. You know, and
Mhm.
well, that's probably why I like Legos so much. But no, but and so I have this confidence in my artistic abilities. I have this confidence in my creativity that I have been struggling to manifest lately. Like, and I keep on wanting to blame it on the injury or blame it on the um, environment, or. But the truth is that what you just said is probably the real reason. Is that I'm so often occupied and have something to turn to that I'm never bored and
Mhm.
just letting my mind wander and like be. It's kind of like what you can make out of making something out of nothing. That's what's
Yeah.
creativity, right? Making something out of
Yes.
nothing. When you have nothing, you can pull stuff together and make it cool. You know, but
Mhm.
when you have
Mhm.
everything, it's like how many times have you gone to the grocery store and not knowing what to get to eat for dinner tonight? You know? And so and how much you take it for granted when there's so much everything's there, and then it perpetuates like you just described, and it becomes you're just so busy with all of it.
Yeah, and I mean, and we just create busyness for our brains. We don't have to turn on the TV all the time. It doesn't always have to be on, chattering at us. You know, in
You
fact,
say
one,
we neither of us ever watch TV.
I don't even have a TV, honestly, and that was the that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Actually, it was 18 years ago. I had a baby.
Oh, imagine
And
that.
I was home with my baby. And boy, was I watching a lot of TV because I had nothing else to do. I didn't know other women with babies. And so I ended up watching a lot of like HGTV. And then at night, we were watching, I think, Lost at that time. And then it became like every show that was before and after Lost. And my husband said, you know what? I'm going to put the TV in the shed. And
Wise
that
man.
was that was kind of a big move because he wasn't the one watching it all day long. He was kind of like, "You're watching too much TV. Put the TV in the shed." And
Oh, wow.
and I didn't think it was a bad idea, so I let him put the TV in the shed, and that forced me to do so many more things. Honestly, newborns are boring. They just are. They don't do anything. They just eat and they sleep. So I was watching too much TV because there was not much else to do. But once it was gone and I adjusted in my brain, the dopamine levels evened out, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I regained so many hours in my life and so much mental space. It's been the best thing ever. In fact, I interact with a lot of kids these days and they say, "Have you seen this show?" And I say, "I don't have a TV." And they cannot understand it at all because not only do they have a TV, but they have iPads and they have phones and they got their watches and they everything has a screen. And for me to not have that giant screen in my house, they can't even. What do you do? How do you watch a movie? They ask me so many questions. But honestly, best thing that ever happened to me.
That I'm sure contributes to your laser focus. That's because you're excellent at all the things that you focus on. You have a level of refinement that is elite. So I'm sure that these things that reduce your distraction they got to be contributors. And
I think it's just
when
the time that gives back to me. The time it gives back to me, I don't have to fill up with other things, It's like I often just let the space have no sound as I'm going throughout my day. I give myself a lot of space to think. And that's when I have my shower thoughts. I have my shower thoughts all day long because I don't have screens yelling at me or music playing all the time.
So I have at points in my life sought out ways to calm my brain because I've always constantly thinking. I still am, and it's exhausting. And some things that I've learned over the years that are helpful. Screen time is what they will call it these days. Like, stop looking at your phone, stop looking at your TV screen. That's an obvious, thing to do to enable yourself to not be so easily distracted. But having music, which is a way for your brain to be enchanted, but not distracted. Now, by all means, music can consume you. But I remember having, and when I learned that when I was in my mid to early 20s, looking at these kinds of things about life, like that was an enlightenment period for me, big time at that stage of my life. But and when I found music to be one of the recommended solutions, man, that was like, oh, well, of course, then that was an easy out for me. And boom, no more TV. It was like that, and like, so I've always had a TV, It's like if you don't have a TV and people come to your house, they're like accusing you of being, But and as when Lyric was a child, we didn't have the hobby of watching TV, and the TV didn't come on when we got home, but we did watch movies together. And a lot of the movies that we chose to watch, like we're not movie watching monsters. Like we'd watch The Sunset together regularly, and we'd read together regularly, and we watched movies, but they were usually because I heard of or knew of or had experienced a movie that was helping me like teach a lesson. I was so consumed with that. So yes, having a child did contribute to my cutting TV out, but in a different way. But I always had a TV for movie watching, and then that was not a major phase of her life either. So TV's really not been a big deal for me. I've always had one, but I've not been a person to just like turn to it to distract myself.
Mm-hmm. I think we should read a couple of these comments here. Tasha says, when the girls are bored, we end up having the most fun when we play. I take their phones and iPads and they truly get even more creative. And that's true. That's true.
Yes.
Have you ever seen a kid with an iPad having their most creative moments? I mean, sure, you can draw on them, but what are most kids doing on iPads anyhow? They're playing games. Yeah. Lots of kids tell me stories about their video games.
Really?
But they don't tell me about the picture they drew on their iPad.
Right. Yeah. So because it's a response mechanism. It's not an active create mechanism, and that, to me, that's receiving. Think about all of the gains we get out of life when we have to press ourselves and we have to give and put forth energy. That's when all the gains happen, right? Is when you're giving. When you're just laying back and receiving, you're not growing. I'm not saying there's no room for relaxation. That's what we've been talking about as far as like trying to be bored. It's not the same thing. But when you're just sitting there watching something, you can be learning. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you're not pressing yourself. But when you're creating, instead of giving a kid something and letting them watch it, you tell a kid something and ask them to do it. Completely different exercise.
Here, let's read another one. Anne has a quote here. The present moment is all you ever have. There's never a time when your life is not this moment.
Love
and
that.
I really try to remind people of that. It's like, it's always right now. It's always right now, you know? And you're always ready to start something or stop something right now. It's always now. Just do it, you know? And I think and when you're bored and you allow yourself to be bored, you allow space in your brain to actually reflect on yourself and things you've been doing, things you want to do, how you want to change. You cannot have these thoughts when you're busying yourself with work. You're distracting yourself from actually ways that you could grow as a human being, because you can't think these thoughts when you're all filled up. And I think that's actually where I'm going with all of this, is that, you know, when we talk about getting busy living, we're not talking about going to work and you know, getting on that work treadmill and getting it all done, and then get home and make that dinner and then make sure you get your 2 shows in. You're going to feel great. It's not that at all, you know? I would say the living part is when those moments where you allow yourself some room to breathe, some room to think, some room to do something that's meaningful to you, you know?
I feel like I'm seeing colors for the first time in a long time. You know, to imagine all of the lack of boredom in my life since, wow, I can't remember when's the last time I was genuinely bored, where I didn't have anywhere to turn my attention to inspire my imagination to create something. You know, first of all, as long as you've had a smartphone, you're never bored, right? Like you said, it's always so easy to just turn on your phone. And
I have to fight myself constantly from reaching for my phone.
Yeah. And well, it's a good thing that you're conscious of it, you know, really.
It's hard. It's hard. I am as addicted to my phone as any American. I was telling my son the other day, and like I just said, I had a baby 18 years ago. He's an 18-year-old now. And I said, I'm really sorry that you don't get to experience the true boredom that we got to experience growing up, because I really felt like that was the source of me trying all sorts of new things, learning how to use my sewing machine, mixing up a whole bunch of stuff in the kitchen and just baking it and seeing what happened, digging up plants and looking at them. I feel like none of that would have happened in an iPad world for me. Although there was one summer where I spent the entire time hanging out with Ryan Cassidy because we had no cars, and we sat on my couch and watched the same VHS of Beauty and the Beast all summer, and that was a wasted summer. But I had fun with you, Ryan.
Shut up. Oh man, I was probably the loneliest kid when I first moved from the East Coast to the East Side to the West Side back in the area when I was a kid. And that's when the art for me really took off, because I was by myself a lot and was doing art a lot. Well, drawing. I was drawing everything and anything that came to my brain. I would put it down on pencil with lead. And that was so, and I enjoyed it so much because of the alternative, doing nothing, you know, and how, I don't know how that feeds into what drives me today, but I can't sit still and just do nothing. And so when it was time for me, or not time for me, but as I got healthier and I started facing the reality of my life, that here's what I'm faced with, possibly not ever getting out of this bed again. That's when the real seeds for the Git Bizzy Living Project were planted. Is when I was facing having no options and being forced to lay in bed and look at my computer. And that's when it was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to be sane and to live for an extended period of time and get any healthier than I am now if I don't occupy my brain somehow. And I was like driving myself mad. I got to get out of this bed, but doctors keep telling me they can't help me. And so I'm like, that's when I was like, well, I'm going to help myself. And it was because I knew that I would be going wild about how bored I was sitting there all the time. that boredom inspired me to decide to go back to college as a 40-year-old.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think that, you were saying like you were on your computer and you were planting these seeds, but I think that actually was your forced boredom. And that was your genius thought. That was your shower thought,
The shower thought. So Schwoy Boy has been trying to call me while we've been on here.
Me too.
And he just texted me. I'm like, dude, come on. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? I think that's why he did it. I feel like we're behaving a child for bad behavior. He's going to watch this and he's going to always start calling us and shit when.
I think he got the time wrong and wanted to know how to watch the podcast is what it was.
I wouldn't put that past him.
Well, you're just going to have to watch the replay, Schwoy Boy.
Well, luckily for him, we're going to see Schwoy Boy soon. Okay, so the Git Bizzy Living Project 55, we're in month 49 down, or 49 to go, 6 down, 49 to go. So next month is my birthday, and the idea behind the Git Bizzy, or the Project 55 isn't that I had once in my life decided to go on an epic adventure every month. It was that once in my life, I realized that I had been on such a streak that was already so impressive and cool to me personally that I decided to keep it up. But a lot of those epic adventures that were present in that streak when I discovered it weren't anything more than a business trip where I did cool stuff along the way, or fun stuff, or whatever, epic stuff. So it looks like March, even though it is my birthday month, I've got something more important that I'm looking forward to doing next month. Look, you guys are welcome to join me. If I know you and you're anywhere near Texas or Dallas or the South Lake specifically, by all means, let's get up. I'll find you on the way there or on the way back. I'm going from here to Albuquerque, then across all that fun part of the country to Texas into Dallas. But we're going to be there for the Stem Cell Institute's putting on a convention, and we're going to go there and do a little bit more work in the realm of stem cells. So for those of you that don't know, the HSWA is the bigger picture. This podcast is just a way for us to keep in touch with our audience that we hope to be able to help get busy living. And in that way, we want to help people the way that I've been helped. Okay, I've been rescued from my deathbed and put into a position where I can get busy living, and I want to help others that way. So that's what the HSWA is about. I really feel that stem cells is the best way to help everyone, including myself. So we want to be able to help people the way that I've been helped and the way that I want to be helped. And so we're going to go there. We're going to get our education on. We're going to rub elbows with people in the industry and try to start perpetuating, bringing stem cells to the living rooms of America and beyond. There's absolutely no reason that everybody should be putting down the aspirin and ibuprofen and picking up the stem cells for real relief. So next month, Project 55, month number 7, lucky number 7, my birthday month, we're going to be in Dallas for the weekend of March 11th. So if you're anywhere near there, get up with me. I got one of my homies from the Air Force when I was in the Air Force for a couple months. Actually, it was over a year, but somebody that I was really good friends with back then is going to meet up with us in Dallas. And anybody else that wants to come along, be there. That's March 11th. That weekend, I'm on my way there. I'm on my way back. But try to build around it. I don't know what I'm going to do for my birthday, D-Rex, but I want to make next month less about me and more about the mission. You know what I mean?
Excellent. Oh, here he is. He says, he's trying to get in. He's trying to get into this podcast. You want to try to let him in? I don't know what this is about. Oh,
well, I actually kind of dig this approach, Schwoy Boy. Look, we don't want to encourage, bad behavior, but, truth among friends. Let's see what this guy has for us, because, I love this.
Okay, while you're getting him a link, I'll read a couple more of these things. Okay, who's Sunny Boy?
Oh, man. So look, it's been said that I'm a flirt and that I talk too much. And, those are probably true in some ways. But so when I was at karaoke night a couple weeks ago with Brother Doug and Summer, And I met this guy who was there admiring the show, admiring the music, admiring the good times that karaoke brings. And we just started kicking it, and he's offered to help me learn how to play the harmonica. And so just because he was in my, so when it's time to promote this a little bit, and obviously I haven't been exhausting myself promoting because I'm exhausting myself learning how to graduate. But when I do, I just go with the people I've texted recently, I'm like, hey guys, I'm doing this again. So he was on my recent text list. His name is Renee. Thanks for tuning in, bro. Appreciate you. This is a perfect example of how relationships have been built for me all around the world. The way that me and Sonny Boy met was the same way that me and so many of the people that chipped in to save my life back when I needed it most met, just in passing and with genuine conversation.
Well, he says the best gift you can give your kids is your time. Take the phones and iPads away. And Pat Ulrich here says, good call, Sonny Boy. And I think a lot of us agree. And I find that a lot of parents have trouble doing that. They don't want to be the bad guy, but it is one of the best things you can do for your kids. Let them be bored. Bye, Ann. Thanks for being here.
Hey, girl, good to see you. So, hey, Carrie, what's up? So, look, I can't see the picture. I can see that it's Carrie, and I've met my share of Carries. And I got to say that very few people call me Jeff. In my life, the people that call me Jeff are the people that were in the medical community when so I've got people that went to school with when I was really young before I started being called Swede at school all the time. Those of like you that met me on the first day of school in the 9th grade. I got very few people that I went to school with. Most of my school classmates call me Swede. So I've got school people like yourself. So Carrie,
I call you Jeff.
Carrie could be one of them, but I don't think so. I've got Lyric's mom, Heather, my first love. She would call me Jeff. And usually she was mad at me when she called me that. So like it's kind of cringeworthy sometimes. and then police. So like, the people that like are trying to put out the cool vibe usually call me Swede. And the people that call me Jeff are usually the people that haven't had a lot of those types of moments with. But this particular Carrie, I'm not sure who it is.
She says it's the Carrie.
Okay, so look, I can't look. I got to give respect for there's been a couple Carries that I've had that are very close to me, or not very close to me, but that I've had a genuine bond with. And I don't want to make this a habit, for me to try to be forced to remember my friends. But what like Carrie that I worked at Ruby's with. And that my boy, the Jigga J Calcut used to date. I mean, Carrie, I'm not trying to call you out if that's you. But then I've got Heather's cousin and Lyric's aunt, or other cousin Carrie.
Holly and Kate's Carrie.
That's okay. What's up, girl? Carrie Carden. Hey, girl. Jackson Avenue Photography is in the house. What's up, girl? Honestly, that's the first one that I thought of, but I've got family that are Carries, and I've got, so I didn't want to like alienate anybody. Hey, if you weren't one of there's many Carries out there that I got much love.
You know what? I know about 10 Sarahs, and they're all awesome. It's, it's just a fact of life. We get named similar things.
All right, so I'm probably going to get some salt for this, but I was sitting at my hairdresser's one time, and like I wasn't all uppity about my hair, but she offered, and I was like, all right, and she's my homie, so she just became, it was like more seeing a psychiatrist than it was like getting a haircut, because I always had short hair anyway. So, but she did a great job, and she's like, "Are you fucking kidding me, Sweet? Isn't that like the 5th amber?" And I don't know what it is, but I do have a track record of ambers in my life, and they're all sweet and beautiful, and they're all worthy. They're all keepers. But like, how weird is that? Like in Kelly's, I have a sister named Kelly. I've dated multiple Kellys. I've dated multiple Heathers. What is that? Do you have like multiple names on your list? Well,
I'm going to go off topic for a second, because I always want to know why are all the football teams for high schools named the same? They're always like the Bulldogs, the Trojans, I
know the Panthers.
Do we not have anything new? I mean, except for Northeast, who, they're the grape pickers, which I always thought was horrible. And now I think it's great.
Yeah, because it's unique to your region. I agree. That is completely off topic. But yeah, why not be original? Be original. Why do you want to be the fucking Giants? There's already Giants.
Yeah, you know what? I was going to name my kids something really crazy, and everything I thought of nobody liked, and I bowed down to societal pressure and I named him something really normal, and I always kind of regretted it, but he likes his name, so
Oh, hush your mouth. Have you no respect? Normal. Luke is like probably the greatest name for men. It's not
well,
John, Bill, Joe. It's hello, Luke Skywalker. Give
yeah,
me a
okay,
break.
well,
It's a biblical name. You can't beat Luke. Luke was a duke. Luke got to drive the General Lee. Are you out of your head? Normal. Well, man,
okay, well, you
look, I
just
can't reach
said
you
that
from
you
here.
should be unique. And I said, I tried to be unique and then I wasn't. Now you're like, yeah, don't be unique. So it's like,
No,
pick a side, Jeff.
no, Jeff's not unique. Luke is way better. Luke is greater than Jeff. Look, Luke, there's only a couple of people that have ever been Luke and they were awesome, and then nobody else. Like, there's only a couple Lukes. They're unique. Think about it. Have you ever met a Luke that was boring or mundane? You know how many Jeffs? Look, Jeff. God, I just got myself
I
in trouble
remember
again.
you told me once you didn't like the name Jeff because it sounded like some poet or artist. And then you were like, but wait a second, I'm kind of a poet and an artist, so I don't know why I hate my name.
I am going to see my psychiatrist on Tuesday, and I'm going to mention
Oh,
this
good
conversation
idea.
because I apparently have some trauma in my life. I
Who
don't know
doesn't?
why it took Scooty Wells and Jerry in Malaysia when I couldn't move my arms and being like, "What do you mean you're not a poet?" And I was like, "I'm not a freaking poet." And they're like, "Bro," and I'm like, "No, I'm not." Yeah, it's like, ugh, and it's like,
Oh, it's that eerie uh it's that eerie thing where
I
you
gotta
have
get
to
rid of
kind of
that.
go, I don't need that.
Yeah,
And
feminine and
I'm not putting down
soft and
people in eerie. I'm
sweet,
saying I was guilty of it too. And
stubborn.
I'm often guilty of it. I want to read this because Schaefer, our number one guy who we can't wait to help, his mom says, my grandma, who just died at 103 years old, hated my son's name. She said, "What the hell kind of name is Schaefer?"
And what I think that's the first thing that I said to her when she told me. Actually, I think Mez is the one that told me. I can't remember who the conversation was with about. Okay, so Schaefer's named after. Uh, I should probably let her tell the story, but Schaefer's named after a very important relative, one of Mez and Jay Brown's relatives, and he has the pleasure of moving along to the greater stage. And so Schaefer's got his name in that honor. And I didn't
Hmm.
know that. I was like, why Schaefer? I thought it was cool. You don't meet a
Mhm.
lot of Schaefers. You don't
I
meet a
think
lot
it's
of Lukes.
unique.
And every time you meet one, they're cool as shit. And who is cooler than that kid, man? I can't wait to get him back on. So, hey, Lori, I'm glad you're here. I know you're always here. I appreciate you. Love you. I
Hmm.
just want you to know that we are actively moving in that direction. That's why I'm going to be,
Hmm.
that's why I'm going to be in Dallas in March was to go. We're barking up that stem cell tree, babe. So thanks for
Yeah.
sticking that with us.
Do you want to talk for a second what that is, that you're going to be attending?
Yeah, so it's a convention that's being put on by the Stem Cell Institute, which is like the lead dog over there is Neil Rorden, who is one of the industry experts in the stem cell realm. He's got his he wrote the book about he wrote one of the many books, but he wrote one of the best-selling books that about stem cell technology recently. And the clinic in Panama is one of the world's most reputable clinics. They are famous for the process. They're famous for the research. They're famous for the quality of the product. They're famous for stigma breaking. And so the guy that is responsible behind all of that is putting on a show in Texas next month. And I'm going there. I've been in contact with their clinic in the past when I wasn't prepared to receive treatments. And the goal is to help them with their mission. We're in it together. I'm just trying to perpetuate what they are already the industry leaders on, and that is trying to help more and more people learn, know, and receive the benefits of stem cells.
Hmm.
Super excited.
Yeah, there's so many things that are going to be super exciting this year that we can't wait to update you guys on. And
Yes,
our
I
first
know.
hmm,
Go. Okay.
I was going to say our first rule of order is that we're getting everything in shape to start receiving funding, and funding can come from small sources as well as large sources. So I just want to remind everybody that we still are actively accepting donations. And there's just so much to talk about right here, and I'm going to try to rush through it because we'll go over time. That you could go to either getbusyliving.com or thehswa.org to donate $25 toward this huge project, toward helping Schaefer, toward helping Swede, and helping others walk again and enjoy their lives more. And not only that, you're going to get entered into the raffle to win the trip to Alaska with Scooty Wells, which we have talked about before. So we're not going to redo it right now. But man, what a trip. What a trip. That is something you want to be entered into the raffle for. So we will soon have a little video for you to watch on that, and we'll explain it then again. But that's going to be amazing.
I know that we try to promise our audience that we want to be able to keep it to an hour and not put pressure on you to cut us off and leave. And that's what people said to me. You're like, Sweet, when you go longer than what you say you're going to go long, I feel bad for leaving early, but man, I gave you what I was going to give you. You know? Right.
Yeah.
So I understand that is a real thing, and I don't want to press the issue, but I do want to say that I thought our conversation that we had this morning was worth repeating, and the topics we've touched on since then really have been helpful to me because I really do feel like I've had a light bulb come on. So so do you remember how I told you this morning that when you mentioned this angle and this offering as advice for the Get Busy Living podcast, that I was like, usually a light bulb goes on, but this time it didn't. And you were like, that's exactly it, Swede. When's the last time you were bored? And then tangent, but I just want to call attention to that because I feel like that paints the picture so perfectly. So me and D-Rex, when it's time for us to come on the show, we want always to give you reason to believe in yourself, that you have what it takes to get busy living, that you deserve to get busy living, and that get busy living is a good idea. So not only do we want to share with you our past experiences and the fun stuff we're having, not only do we want to help you get busy living, but we want to give you some usable knowledge and advice and nuggets that we picked up that we can share. And so we always talk about what we're going to share message wise. And this time she was talking about corporate busyness, and she's like, Google it. And I did. And I found it very intriguing. So nowadays, because of remote working and because of the drive for status, so much of us are figuring out tactics to make ourselves appear busy, or we're gaining status because we appear busy. And it's become somewhat of a plague, if you will, where we're so preoccupied, those of us that want progress in life, with appearing to be busy because we think it gives us status, that we're always going and going and going, and we never allow ourselves to stop and become creative and be bored, so that we can let our imagination flow and we can make stuff out of nothing, right? So that's usually what it is a lot of times, because D-Rex has the beautiful, colorful, wonderful ideas, and I try to reiterate it for the dimwits. I love you guys. And so when this time came around, I was like, this morning, I was like, man, this time there's no light bulb going on. Like I've tried to come up with something, that's worthwhile and imaginative that relates to, the difference between being busy because you think it makes you more successful, which being productive is more successful. Just being busy, you could just be sitting there spinning your wheels, being busy and then getting busy living. And I couldn't come up with anything. I was just like I had this fog. And when you were like, that's it, that's exactly my point. The reason you're not coming up with something is because you're not allowing yourself to be bored. You're not allowing yourself to just relax your mind, take away all of the preoccupations, stop concerning yourself with all your business, and just let it happen for you. And after I did that, I felt so much more alive. Like I I'd relax my brain from everything. Every time I tried to think of an imaginative thought, when something that is already existed in my life came in, I pushed it away. You know, I was like, I'm looking for new stuff. I'm looking for new stuff. And I calmed down and I relaxed and breathed. And then, man, I opened my eyes and I felt so much, I felt enlightened, you know, and those calming moments, you know, are a microcosm of what is necessary for any of us to really get busy living, in addition to making a living. You got to make a living. You got to get your bread and butter money. You got to take your kids to school, and you got to feed the family, and you got to, you know, put clothes on your back. But just doing that isn't living. No disrespect to the family. I'm all about raising kids. But what I'm saying is, like, not just raising your kids, but living with your kids and getting them enjoying their lives. And the king of getting busy living, the one and only, the wolf, Scooty Wells.
All right, we should wrap this up, but go ahead. He said what?
I want to bring this up here. He said, I was trying to explain why being bored isn't a bad thing to my 2-year-old or my 3-year-old today. I mean, what a way to polish off this podcast is to say, guys, look, you might be facing this super overwhelming amount of busyness that isn't necessarily productive. And at the end of the night, you might not necessarily feel proud of it all, or even if you do feel proud of it all, you know, if you're not connecting and you're not enjoying your life and you're just busy, then shut it off. Turn off your screen. Turn on some calm, relaxing music or inspirational music and just be bored for a minute. And let yourself think about what you thought about when you were a kid and what you wanted to be when you grew up and your dreams, and imagine the possibilities. Imagine the possibilities. And while you're doing that, know that you are deserving of a life that you can say you were getting busy living, not just busy while you're alive. Scooty Wells, thanks for showing up, brother. Carrie, good to see you. D-Rex.
Yeah, thanks to everybody for showing up. Yeah, thanks. I'm always showing up.
Hey, guys, thanks for coming. Always remember, no matter the weather, always remember, we're all in this together. Whether sunshine or rain, there's no joy without pain. Always remember, we're all in this together. It's a great day to be alive. Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah.
You can see it when you see me, but you gotta